Hello, friends and fellow lovers of all things beachy. Welcome to The Beach Speaks, the podcast that shares stories about the beach and our connection to it. I'm your host and beach lover, Paige Friend, helping you reconnect with the beach, return to your soul, and reimagine your life. So grab a cool drink, relax in your beach chair, stick your toes in the sand, and enjoy this episode of The Beach Speaks. Hey, beach lover. If you're a regular listener to the podcast, you'll know that I often talk about how I met my soulmate, quit my 9-to-5, and moved to the beach. It almost always comes up in conversation when I meet somebody new and we get to talking about the beach. Of all three, I get the most response from met my soulmate part, like, that's amazing, or how did you do that, or I met my soulmate too. And then they proceed to tell me their story. I noticed in the past several conversations with my guests, the same topic, how we met our soulmate, partner, significant other, has come up. While talking about her book, On Fire Island, Jane Rosen mentioned that she met her husband on a date at the beach on Fire Island. Cathi Taucher met my guest Oneike, the beach lifeguard, at the beach in Negril, and most recently, in the conversation I recorded with Pam Uzell about her love-hate relationship with the beach, she mentioned that she had met her soulmate on her birthday. It wasn't at the beach, but it was at a significant time in her life that was the catalyst for her return to loving the beach again. It made me think about how similar my story was to theirs. I met Ernie, my soulmate, on the beach on my birthday. I have learned from past experience that when such synchronicities appear, it's a sign from the universe to pay attention. And in this case, perhaps this is a sign that I need to tell my story on the podcast of how I met Ernie on the beach on my birthday. It wasn't like a fairy godmother suddenly appeared and tapped me on the head with her magic wand and said, poof, there's your soulmate. I had to do some work, a lot of work, and be mindful of all the different people, places, and circumstances leading up to that moment. The one thing that was with me all along was the beach, guiding me, inspiring me, and challenging me. I knew what I wanted. I just had to trust the universe and the beach with the how. One of the first things I did was end a 9-year relationship that honestly wasn't going anywhere, especially not the beach, and then gift myself a year of just me to figure out what I really wanted. Where did I want to go? Could I be okay by myself for the rest of my life? What did I want in an ideal partner? I took a deep dive into mindfulness and began working with my coach Ramona, who guided me through her Authentic Life Journey program. I learned meditation and how to be in the present, to let go of the beliefs that were holding me back and replace them with intentions for my future. As I took the steps, one day at a time, it seemed like with every experience going forward, the beach was there in some way, shape, or form. A large part of mindfulness, for me, isn't just being aware of what is happening in the present moment. It's observing how it feels in that moment and responding rather than reacting. I started making regular trips to the beach to meditate and pay attention to how I felt. Gulf Coast or Atlantic Coast? How would it feel to live there? I took a similar approach when it came to making a list of what I wanted in a soulmate. While some women get really specific, like 45 to 55 years old, 6 feet tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, has a job that involves wearing a uniform, lives on the East Coast, not obsessed with sports, stuff like that. Yes, I had a couple of specific things that I definitely wanted in a partner, like someone who's kind, loves the water and the beach, is spiritual, not religious. But what was more important was how I wanted to feel when I'm with this person. About 8 months into my year of me, I discovered a dating website, Meet Mindful, and I signed up for their 30-day free deal. Even though I really hadn't any intention of dating anyone, I was just thinking about where I wanted to live at the beach, and I thought, well, it might be nice just to meet someone who lives at the beach. Meet a friend. And since mindfulness was something I was really into, a site with the name Meet Mindful, the chances of finding my type of person ought to be pretty good. When I started filling out the bio for my profile, I was so intrigued by the questions they asked that I actually printed them out and meditated and journaled on them, like an exercise in mindfulness self-exploration. It took a week or so before I was even satisfied with what I wrote. I posted my profile, casting a wide net, basically Florida, coast to coast, and then totally forgot about it. Of course, on the last day of the free 30 days, I got an email with the message, "Meet Ernie." I thought, "Meet Ernie?" Then I remembered, oh yeah, they're sending this to me because they want me to pay to subscribe. And I thought, okay, well, I'll read his profile. I couldn't believe it. Everything he said about himself checked all the boxes for what I wanted in a soulmate. Plus a few surprises, like he talked about the 5 love languages and that his was physical touch. I talk about the 5 love languages all the time. I never even thought to mention that in my bio. He not only loves the beach, he lives at the beach. He knows how to fly airplanes. I have my pilot's license. And would you believe his last name is Friend? I already felt like I knew this guy, and we haven't even met, let alone said a word to each other. Well, I ended up having to pay the $29 that month so I could respond, and my opening line was something like, I didn't intend on joining the site, but anybody who talks about living at the beach, the 5 love languages, and learning how to fly airplanes immediately has my attention. So I joined this site just so I could send you this message. The next few days, we emailed back and forth through the site and then started texting. We joked that it was meant to be, even though he wasn't looking to meet anyone outside a 25-mile radius. He was thinking about moving to the same beach that I also had in mind, Indian Rocks Beach, where I used to go when my parents lived there. And it turns out that's where he used to live when he was younger. His mom had a beach condo there, not far from the part of the beach where I used to hang out. On February 8th, 2018, we had our first official phone call. Honestly, I was a little nervous because this guy seemed too good to be true. Could I really have manifested my ideal partner? The moment I heard his voice, it felt so familiar. The conversation just flowed. We talked about my job and how I desperately wanted to leave it and move to the St. Pete Beach area. And he was actually applying for a job in St. Pete. And we talked about where and when we learned to fly and compared our zodiac signs. And I told him that my birthday was coming up the next weekend. He asked me what I was going to do to celebrate. And I said, well, I'll probably drive to the Gulf Coast and spend the day by myself at Indian Rocks or St. Pete. He said, why don't I meet you there? I can show you around the area. And I thought, okay, what better place to meet for the first time? The next week, I drove down to Miami for a 3-day self-love divine feminine retreat called Beloved. It was led by my favorite podcaster, Rich Roll's wife, Julie Pyatt. The second day of the retreat was Valentine's Day, and Ernie surprised me with flowers that he'd sent to my hotel room. And every night while I was there, we talked about what happened at the retreat and what I was learning. And he was all excited to tell me about an article he just read about the divine feminine. He said it was written by someone named Julie Pyatt. I said, "That's the woman that's leading this retreat." The hits just kept coming. We talked about meeting at the beach for my birthday, and it turned out he planned the whole weekend. I said to Julie the next day, "I think I manifested my soulmate." The last day of our retreat ended in an ocean ritual where our group of 8 women waded into the clear blue water up to our chests, bobbing up and down in the waves, chanting and singing like mermaid goddesses. I didn't want to leave, but I had to get home and get ready for my birthday weekend at the beach with my soulmate. The 3.5-hour drive back to Orlando turned out to be almost 5 because Miami traffic was so bad. Ernie kept me company on the phone the whole time in deep conversation, and by the time I got home, I had no fear about spending a weekend with this guy I'd never met in person. But just to be on the safe side and to appease my friends that knew what I was going to do, I planned on driving my own car and meeting him at the beach, just in case things took a turn for the worse. The next day, February 17th at 10 a.m., I pulled into the parking lot of the Treasure Bay Resort and Marina, a few spots away from Ernie's gray Toyota Tundra. He was standing at the tailgate of the truck wearing a marine blue t-shirt, my favorite color, striped board shorts, and black flip-flops. I stepped out of my car and pretty much ran to throw my arms around him. It was like we had known each other in another lifetime and had been waiting so long to meet each other in this one. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's true. When you know, you know. We were each other's soul's mate. He took 2 brand new Tommy Bahama beach chairs and a cooler from the truck, and I toted the beach bags, and we walked across the street to Treasure Island Beach, which is one of the beaches about a mile north of the main part of St. Pete Beach. It was a long walk in the soft white sand to get past the dunes and onto the beach, and it took me a moment to catch my breath from carrying all the stuff. Or maybe it was because the excitement of it all. But the weather was perfect, about 80 degrees, sunny, and the water was crystal clear. We hung out there all day, talking about beach life, what we liked about the area, and even searching on Ernie's phone for an idea of what houses were for sale. As if it was a foregone conclusion that we were going to be living together at the beach. We just weren't sure where. For dinner, I wanted grouper tacos, my favorite when I'm at the beach. So we just left the chairs there and walked to a restaurant nearby that was known for fish tacos. But the wait to get in was so long. We ended up ordering to go so we wouldn't miss the sunset. By the time we got our food, the sun was minutes away from dipping down past the horizon. But we made it back to our chairs, opened our to-go bag, and everything was there except my fish tacos. It didn't matter. The sunset was perfection. And if you've been lucky to have experienced a Florida Gulf Coast sunset, you know what I mean. The sky starts out pink and blue, and then as the sun begins to get closer to the horizon, it turns into an orange, red, and yellow glow. The next day was my actual birthday, number 53. We had a couples massage, brunch at a restaurant overlooking the water, and then we drove down the coast checking out different beaches until there was just a sliver of twilight left after sunset. I didn't want to go, but I had to clock into work at 6:45 a.m. the next day, and it was at least a 2.5-hour drive home. From then on, we saw each other on the weekends and dreamed of where we were going to live at the beach. We both thought it would be St. Pete Beach, where we first met, but we ended up in Jacksonville Beach. Of all the beaches on the Atlantic coast of Florida, I had never even considered Jack's Beach, but it's perfect. Ernie proposed to me on the beach, and I got my dream beach wedding at sunset on the date we met 2 years before. And even though it was a bit cold and rainy, it was perfect. And thanks to the pandemic, we work from home now with a lot of flexibility, and we love it. I get to go to the beach anytime I want, and I get to do this podcast and spend time with you. We have since made it a ritual to go back to Treasure Island Beach every year to celebrate the day we met, our wedding anniversary, and my birthday. But the weather has been cold and rainy the past few years. Not the perfect weather it was when we met. I think it's a sign that we should still celebrate at the beach, but maybe a different one each year. But where? I trust that the universe and the beach know where. All I need to do is be mindful in the moment and look for the signs. Well, dear friend, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It's a pretty good one, don't you think? By the way, I looked up number 53 in my numerology book to see what it meant. Apparently, 53 symbolizes balance and order in life, inspiring us to make the best use of every good time by focusing on staying positive. It's a sign that good things are coming. I'd say that pretty much sums it up for me. Celebrating my 53 was a fabulous way to end my year of me and start what I hope are many years of we. Speaking of we, I recently created a space where we can gather in our own virtual beach community on Patreon. It's a membership platform that helps build community, and it's a way for you to contribute to the future of the show. It costs as little as $5 to join, and as a member, you'll receive some cool Beach Speaks goodies, plus the opportunity to get exclusive bonus audio content and other beachy stuff. I want to give a special shout out to our newest Patreon member, Terry Maxwell. Welcome, Terry. If you feel inspired to join us, it's easy to sign up. The link is in the show notes. Meet you at the beach. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Beach Speaks. If you like what you heard, share the podcast with another beach lover. And speaking of sharing, I want to know how the beach is speaking to you. To record a message, just go to my website, thebeachspeaks.com, click the voicemail button, it's super easy, and I'll play it on the show. And if more beach is what you crave, visit thebeachspeaks.com or follow The Beach Speaks on Facebook and Instagram, where I post all my gorgeous sunrise photos and videos. It's another way for you to reconnect with the beach, return to your soul, and reimagine your life. The beach is speaking. Are you listening?